Well, hi. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Here we go again. Snowmageddon on the way. At least it's going to happen overnight, where hopefully it won't affect traffic as much, but we'll wait and see. You know, it's kind of been my experience and the way that I'm remembering things that this Domahaw thing they talk about for our area, where a lot of the weather misses us and just kind of separates going north and south. Well, that holds true quite a bit, except late in the winter, just before spring, and then we always seem to get nailed. So we'll see what happens from this one. I never really know for sure. I know they're saying that blizzard-like conditions overnight, so best to just hunker down overnight just to be safe. And, well, I know for me, anytime that we're getting heavy snow outside, I like soup cooking inside. So that's going to be my plans for if we do end up with a lot of snow. Coming up in just a bit, we are going to be speaking, a returning guest, Vivian Kvam from Tandem Works will be joining us. She and her business partner, Michaela Clark, are going to be teaching some classes at Iowa Western Community College. So we're going to talk to her about that, and also a little bit about her podcast, Writing Tandem. Always fun when Vivian joins us on the show. In the meantime, I did want to let you know that this program brought to you in part by Just Sue Creative, who's here to help you build your business with website design, search engine optimization, content creation, marketing, everything you need to take your company to the next level. Sue can do it for you. She has a passion for small businesses, and she loves to help them thrive in this digital world. A great starting point, go to our website, justsuecreative.com, and schedule a free consultation. Also, since 1870, Avela Bank has been providing Iowans with high-quality financial products and services to fit their needs. Whether you need a loan, maybe you'd like to start a new business account, or are you saving money for a trip? Maybe it's just you need to open a personal checking account. Avela's qualified bankers can help you with that and more. Visit avela.bank to learn more. And Service Master Restore by Schmader knows it can be hard to get back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage. It could be flooding, fire, smoke. You may also be left with all sorts of questions about how are you going to get your home or business back to normal. Service Master Restore by Schmader will restore your space by offering quality commercial and residential restoration services in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. And they can do everything quickly to make your home or business whole again. That is Service Master Restore by Schmader. With us now is Vivian Kvam. She is a co-owner of Tandem Works and also the host of the podcast Writing Tandem. Good morning, young lady. Thank you so much for your time. And as if you weren't busy enough, you decided that it's time to take on some new duties, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Good morning. Always busy. That keeps it interesting, though.
Right. Oh, I saw online that you are about to start teaching some classes. What's this about? What's going on?
Yeah. This is fun, too, because I feel like it's coming really full circle. So Michaela and we are starting to teach some classes through Iowa Western Community College as part of their Business Essentials series, which is through like the continuing education department. And yeah, I'm excited about it because we've always enjoyed teaching, and we've done a lot of one-on-one teaching and online courses and workshops. So this is just a new avenue for us to be able to connect with business owners who are doing some awesome things and help bring some of the learnings that we have.
How detailed are you getting in with what the curriculum is?
Yeah, well, so I think, part of it is tailoring. So it'll be very much tailoring to the people who are in class. But one of our commitments has always been at Tandem Works that anytime we teach something, whether it's workshop 101, that we're always diving into really practical, hands-on takeaways that people can walk away with and actually implement right away. So we've been really committed to not just being about theory and good ideas, but how to take that and start applying it right away. So we're definitely going to dive deep in that regard so that every student walks out with like, okay, more than an aha, but an aha. And now how can I actually do this within even the next couple of hours, right?
Well, there's something that it's scientific and psychological about actually getting your hands on something that it imprints into your mind a lot better. I have finally gotten it through my skull that I need to start making lists, and
Yeah.
I don't do it on my phone. I have a notebook with a pen, and I write down things because that actually imprints it more into my brain. So what you're
Mm,
talking about, and I've experienced this with you because taking your social media workshop, that there's
yeah.
hands-on. You are physically doing it as opposed to just thinking about it.
Yes.
And it's a much more efficient way to learn, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's an enriching way to learn that way, right? Because everyone learns a little differently. So within these classes, we're doing a series of sales classes, one that's business identity and development, and then business connection. So it's three different series within the business essentials. And each class is individual. So you can take each class standalone, or you can dive into the whole series. And what we like to do with our teaching style is, we're going to talk about some of the ideas, philosophies, unpack some more out of the box thinking, some real practical, like this is how it has worked in the real world. But then there's also discussion. There's going to be practice. There's going to be, some small group time, some reflection time, and give and take. Because the thing that we've always found within our workshops is certainly we have a lot that we can bring to the table, but every person in the room also has experience to bring to the table. And that's where you can have some really enriching takeaways.
Yeah, that it worked with me with your workshop that there's people that I met there that I'm still friends with. And
Yeah, that's huge.
that working together, and because it's amazing how you can find commonalities in a business that may not have anything to do with yours, but then you think, wait a
100%.
minute, that I do that exact same thing with mine.
Yeah, it does help a lot. And it's one of the things I love about having a community college like Iowa Western is it's more than just learning opportunities. It's opportunities for communities to gather together that are local, right? So they're right here. These are your neighbors. These are your business neighbors. They may actually be your neighbors. And it's an opportunity to learn together, but then also establish those relationships, which, I mean, through college myself, within the classes I took, that's how Michaela and I met, was through college, and now we're business partners. So I love college. I love educational settings because it just brings a whole wealth of different opportunities beyond just the great content of the class, which these classes they'll be great content. I promise that. But also just bringing people together is huge.
Well, a lot of times in situations like this, and you start to get questions from people that are taking your class, it gets into industry specific. Is it
Mm.
going to be like that? Is it more of an overreaching thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So each of the classes, they won't be industry specific so much as, but here's the thing that we've found over and over again. Running a business is running a business, no matter what industry you're in. And that really is where the gold is. And we're definitely going to dive into some industry specific things as it relates to the people within the class. So that's where we can be on our feet and tailoring as we go to be able to bring in examples and have discussion around your specific business and what it is you're doing. But overarching, all of these are just some really good principles when it comes to your sales. So, for example, one of our classes is Sell Smarter. So, discovering who your ideal customers are. And that applies to all businesses, whether you're serving, if you're doing one on one coaching or you're making widgets of some kind and you're serving thousands of people. At the end of the day, you still want to identify who your people are so that you can be marketing to them. So I think it's going to be, well, I know it's going to be really fun and a great opportunity for people to dive into and think about their industry specifically, but also be able to apply across the board, whatever their business is. And as their business changes, our businesses change too. And that's important to remember.
Oh, I'm the poster child for that. Yeah.
Right? Yes. So they're good
Yeah.
skills that you can take, you can apply right now. And then when your business may need to pivot in the future, you can still apply that learning again.
Is there a big difference between, you talk about businesses, is there a big difference when it comes to the sales aspect, as you were referring to, between a service driven industry and a product driven industry?
There are some differences for sure. And yet again, I'll say it will still all come back to core, right? It's going to come back to the core things, which is really what we'll be covering. So in the sales series, the classes we're doing is, discovering your ideal customers, setting goals, and tracking metrics that actually align with your goals. So often we get stuck in tracking what I call vanity metrics. And that applies whether you are a service industry or you're selling products. You can really get stuck in tracking the wrong things. We'll also be talking about presentations and proposals. And that goes across the board. Again, no matter what you're selling, you're always having to pitch and create a proposal. We'll also be talking about this for sure applies across the board. And it's an easy one to get stuck in when you are selling products. And that is that really what you're selling is the answer to a problem. And it's not so much all the features, right? And that's one that can get sticky, especially when we're business owners who are close to what it is that we're offering, where we're like, oh, well, it does this, this, and this. But really at the end of the day, what are we selling? Well, we're selling a solution to a problem. And then the other one that we're doing is overcoming objections. So that one's all about negotiating and having confidence. That again applies across the board. So you might be selling a service, you're going to have objections. You might be selling, a product of some kind, and you're still going to have to overcome objections.
My personal belief is when it comes to objections is it depends on what the objection is. And if they are still open to having a conversation, then we'll talk. But sometimes you'll get the objection that is, okay, this conversation is over and I need you to go away now. So when I can sense that, there's really no point to diving in and trying to convince someone of something because as I tell people, because I'm business to business, that's what I do as far as generating revenue. They know their business much better than I ever will. So once I have explained what it is that I do and the services that I offer, if it's a no, it's a no. And I'm okay with that. Because, I don't need to waste any more of your time. I don't need to, you don't need to waste any more of mine. And eventually we may revisit this again because as you said, businesses change and things are always changing. But that objection thing always gets me thinking about that just be aware of where this conversation is going. And that's kind of why I think that I have the philosophy that I do.
I love that. And, it's part of why, again, each of these classes can be taken individually. They can be a standalone 2 hours, and you just do that class. But they are also built in a bit of a series, which is part of why that first class in the sales series is discovering who your ideal customers are, because then you aren't so much in that end stage of trying to negotiate with people that just aren't a right fit. And that can help a lot too. Being self-aware and also aware of your business so that you don't nobody wants to get pegged as that guy or gal who's always, pushing their thing. And that's where I know people hear sales and they go, oh, like icky, right? And I've really recalibrated having had a business now for many years, felt the same way. I always tended more towards this like marketing idea, right? But really they combine together. And sales at the end of the day, I try to erase like that word and talk more about it is connecting. It's connecting people from the awareness piece. Okay, now I know what you do to now I'd like to engage with it. Well, there's this whole journey in between, and it really is about service. How can I serve people in such a way that they can connect quickly or possibly disconnect quickly so that we can preserve a great relationship and help them get where they need to be? And that really is the heart of what we're talking about within the sales series. So for those out there who are listening, are like, sales, it's like, it makes me cringe. I don't even want to talk about it. Then I'm like, then you definitely need to come to this class even the series of classes, because we're going to be hitting that head on. These are not classes about like how to make closing calls or, cold calling people. That's not what we're talking about at all.
I'm remembering I was on a trip to Hawaii, and I just did the math. It was 25 years ago. Holy cow. But there was a concierge at the resort where I was staying, and he was going over some different things that were options and what this cost and what that cost. And I told him, I said, you are really good at sales. And he said, no, I'm not. He said, when I got this job, he said, I came from teaching, and he had retired as a teacher, and I was doing this. He said, I didn't want to do this. And the person that hired me explained, no, you're not selling, you're teaching. He said, oh, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And that was what he was doing with me. He was just teaching me what these different things were. He had no vested interest in, and obviously he worked on commission, but
Mm-hmm.
It's leave the decision up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the approach that he took. And that was the very first step. I've had to take a lot of steps since then, but that was the very first step on that path.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's part of why Michaela and I are excited about teaching these because we get to talk about the things that can feel sticky for businesses in a way that is really disarming and breaks it down so that it's approachable. And I love like that example of, within the sales world teaching. And our other series that we're doing is the business identity development. And I think that's huge too, of really knowing and understanding your business, whether you've been in business for 50 years or you're like, you've had this idea for about 5 weeks, getting down to what your business is all about. And, is it teaching? Okay, then we're going to approach sales from a teaching perspective. Is it about equipping? Okay, then we're going to approach sales from an equipping perspective. But that really comes all down to like some of our classes that we'll be doing is core values, knowing the heart of your business. When you can really own those core values, it makes the sales easier. It makes the connections easier. It makes the marketing and the finances. It all plays together. And so I'm excited about these because they all interplay with each other. And I don't think you can operate your business like in a silo where you're only focused on one thing. And I love that about community college classes like Iowa Western has, where you can, get a taste for all these different areas and you can expand on those as it makes sense for your business.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the very first episode of your podcast about core values?
Yes, early on. So I'm teaching the core values one, and that is coming up in March. So that's one of the March ones. We're offering the classes that we're doing through the college are on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they're through the spring. And there's quite a few different ones, but core values is one of the first ones that we are doing. Michaela's also teaching part of the business connection series. She's teaching networking that works, which she is amazing at. And it's really taking it beyond the business card. That's another podcast episode that we've had. We're also doing a class within the business connection one about customer service and how to create connections literally from the beginning to beyond, like once you've delivered. Because I think people so often have this misconception about customer service that it's only during like the business interaction piece, or it's only during the sales process, or maybe like a follow-up, when in fact there's so many aspects of ways you can connect with clients, even if they're not a client yet. So that will be one of the classes too. And again, it all comes back to those core values, right? When you know those core values, it makes all of these topics we're talking about that much easier to really own and define and hone in and make it special and uniquely yours, which is the fun part of business.
After over 2 years of from since I heard that podcast, which I was sitting in the room while you recorded it.
Yeah, that's right.
I have finally started to get some things down.
Yay.
and the number one for me is a core value for my business is that if it's not good for my client, it's not good for me.
Ooh, I like that.
And because that is the core of what it is that I do. We provide a service for someone, and you talked about solving a problem. That's what that's about, is being able to do that. You also, I wanted to brought up Michaela and teaching the networking. I've never met somebody better. And especially at putting two people together that I never would have thought of this. But she sees this in a way that to me is very unique. I have never met anybody with her level of skill with that before. So dead on with putting that into her hands.
Yeah, and she's teaching most of the business connection series. And then there's one of those classes that we're going to do a little co-teaching on, just bringing in, two unique perspectives on these. And throughout some of these classes, we've talked as we've put the outlines together that we may have some guest appearances in each other's classes just to bring those different perspectives. For example, with the networking one, we've talked about this a bit on the podcast, but I'm very introverted and she's extroverted. And there's a lot of networking core basics that go either way, but then there's some nuances. So to your point about tailoring the classes, there will be a lot of, what am I looking for? we will highly be tailoring the classes as people are discussing and we're able to identify, who's in the room.
When did these get started?
So these get started. Our first one is on March 12th, and that's one of the classes I'm teaching. And then they repeat every Monday and Wednesday through the spring. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved with these. And again, I think sometimes people have the misconception with college classes that you have to sign up and go for the whole series. And within these series, there's, like 5 classes per series, but you can just come and take one that pertains to something you're thinking about, or come take the whole series. And they're very approachable in terms of cost. You're looking at they're like $76 per class. And they're a tax write-off. It's continuing education for business owners, or if a business owner wants to send somebody. So there's just a lot of advantages, I think, to it. Not to mention just, getting people in a room, and then we're going to actually do things, right? So we're going to we'll roll up our sleeves and try some things out and leave with some real action steps.
How do people get signed up? Where do they go?
Yeah. So there's of course, you can go to Iowa Western Community College's Business Essentials page. And we have everything also linked on our website, which is thetandemworks.com. And there's a page that's just for Iowa Western Community College Business Essentials classes. And then we also have a page with our workshop calendar, and they're all linked or will soon be. So all of the March ones are linked there. And then April and May will be coming up as soon as I can get them published. So you can go there. You can go to the college website as well and find them there too. And I do want to point out the Business Essential series is not all a collaboration with TandemWorks. There's also financial management, growth and expansion, strategic management, and those are being taught by other local experts too. So there's a wealth of opportunities here to get connected.
And I think it's genius on Iowa Western's part to put people who are actually working this thing in a practical way, as opposed to only teaching it. That when it comes to business, we like to learn from people who are walking that same path. So I think this is a really, really smart thing they're doing.
I agree. And I'm not surprised that it's a smart thing. I mean, Iowa Western has put together some really awesome programs for the community for years. But I do remember being in college classes myself. I loved the classes where they brought in somebody who was doing the thing that I was aspiring to do, or was in the trenches like me. Because to your point, there's so much that can be gained from being able to have those conversations and it not just be theory. And that's huge. I mean, you get out into the world and you start doing things and nothing goes as planned. And all the things you thought you knew, it's like 10% apply in the moment. So being able to bounce with each other and figure things out, that's, I think, where the gold really is with education.
Before we wrap things up, Vivian, you're working on a new series on your own podcast. You're putting out some very specific, and they're solo kind of things that you're teaching in that way. So just talk a little bit about that, because you've already got a couple of those out.
Yeah, I do. And another thing I'm excited about is it's that teaching aspect, right? And so we decided to launch with Riding Tandem into a little more teaching with the podcast. So we have a series right now that we're in the middle of, which is the 8 mindset shifts for marketing for entrepreneurs. And so I'm just breaking down each of the 8 mindset shifts that entrepreneurs really need to have or embrace, or at minimum, I'll say explore, that are a little bit outside of the norm. So when we talk about marketing, one of the latest one, mindset shift number 2, is stop listening to the experts, which is kind of funny because it's okay, here's an expert telling you to just stop listening, right? But some of the mindset shifts are really less about platform specific things or keeping up with trends, but really about knowing who you are as a business and business owner and what is going to make sense to truly move the needle and shift your mindset out of sort of the normal marketing just like mantras and noise that's out there, and really think thoughtfully about what is it that is going to work for you. And so it's shifting your mindset into the things that make sense for you and for your business when it comes to marketing. So it's an 8-part series with a little introduction episode as well. And we're releasing 2 mindset shifts, and we're doing just a, kind of a break, an interview with a business owner, and then we're releasing 2 mindset shifts. And so there'll be 8 of those, and those are rolling out over the next couple of weeks.
That podcast is Writing Tandem. You can find it on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And this is Vivian Kvam of Tandem Works. Thank you so much for your time, and always grateful when you pop on the show here, because I learn probably more than anyone anytime that I can hear you talk. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Love what you're doing.
A big thank you to Bryce Taylor with GLI Insurance Group for supporting us here on Morning Coffee. GLI Insurance Group is a local and family-owned independent insurance group. They've been helping people find the best possible plan for them for over a decade. Bryce has an office just up the road from Council Bluffs in Crescent. He's also the founder of the Facebook group Council Bluffs Food Lovers, and Bryce and I this week are going to start going out and visiting some area restaurants, give them a little love right here on Morning Coffee. So we'll be bringing a new local restaurant to feature on the show very, very soon. Spiral of Accountability is written by local author Carol Horner. And this book takes a very complex, dynamic look of human self-talk and human interaction, simplifies it into a visual representation. She has it right there on a poster. And that allows you to identify, name, and understand what's going on with them and also the people around them, and can show you a pathway to improving their reactions. Pick up your copy at spiralofaccountability.com. And while you're there, learn more about how Carol has helped organizations like yours be in sync by defining accountability in a new way. And this reminder that the Best Wrestler in Council Bluffs has a 20-day camp coming up in June. Space is limited. 50 wrestlers will have the opportunity to practice 51 times over the course of 20 days. There'll be an Olympian, there'll be an Olympic coach, world champions, all kinds of champions at all kinds of levels will be there to help you take your wrestler to the next level. Visit thebestwrestler.com to reserve your wrestling spot. And the event is in Council Bluffs, June 2nd through the 22nd. And if you act now on the website, they have an additional 25% off. Go to thebestwrestler.com. That is wrapping things up for this Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget, we have another show that is now active. It's called Local Roots, Pottawatomie County, Iowa. And we put the first show out yesterday. Tons of great comments about this. I think that folks in some of these rural communities around Pottawatomie County have been waiting for an opportunity to tell their story. And on today's show, we're going to bring you part of a conversation that I had with a local business that's based out of Walnut, Iowa. They're called ThinkSpace IT. And this is Jessa and Jason Erickson. And these two are just a ton of fun. So that is over on the other show, Local Roots, and we look forward to seeing you over there once you get to the end of this show, which is right now. My name's Todd Studer. Have a great Tuesday.